Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Advanced Pokemon Enterprise. My name is Demon Battler, I am the current coach of the Miami Overheat, and we are sitting at the start of Week 8. So, currently we're sitting at a record of 4-3, which puts us 4th out of 12 in the division, and we have a +5 differential, which is actually a pretty solid point for us. So we have 2 weeks left in the season before we hit the playoff picture, and hopefully, with these next 2 weeks, we can do well enough to maintain that. However, these are going to be 2 difficult weeks for us. Especially this week, we are facing off against the Greninja Sweepers, hosted by Copy Ninja, and they are living up to their name. They have a record of 6-1 with a +18 differential, and they have been dominating pretty good for our division. They're currently ranked 2nd. So, it's definitely a tough match for us here. Looking at their team, we can see why. Zygarde 10% is a really strong Pokemon in general, given that Zygarde itself is a legendary. And between Dragon Dance, Thousand Arrows, and Extreme Speed, this Pokemon is going to be a solid threat for us, and we have to be careful. Mega Altaria is the Mega of their roster, and it's the same thing. It could set up and become a huge offensive threat, or it could set up a Cotton Guard and become a very strong physical defense. We have Rotom Heat, which is a pretty solid Pokemon, a good pivot, and on top of that, it has flexibility in terms of its firepower, as well as the different statuses it can make use of. Corviknight is basically a buffed up Skarmory in terms of physical defense, so we're definitely going to have to be mindful of that. Trapinch may not necessarily be as strong of an attacker as most of the other Pokemon on his roster. However, Trapinch is still nothing to scoff at, and there are certain ways to make use of this thing, so we have to be careful there. Mew is basically a gigantic wild card. It can be offensive, it could be defensive. With the move pool it has available to it, this thing is going to be hell to predict. We have Miltank, which is a very strong, bulky Pokemon. It's fairly fast for being a cow, which is surprising, and pretty much it, between Milk Drink and Rest, and things like Heal Bell, this thing can make an amazing cleric. Then we have Gengar, which is basically Greninja Sweepers' mascot of sorts. This Pokemon has the most kills out of the entire league, and quite frankly is considered the Pokemon to concern yourself about. Dewpider itself is not very strong either, however, it has proven itself to be pretty significant in a couple of battles, and it's been able to handle quite a few strong opponents on its own. And finally, the Pokemon with no introduction necessary, Single Strike Urshifu. This thing is a powerhouse, and given the fact that it's a fighting and dark Pokemon, that means that it's going to be a really strong offensive threat, and hopefully we can find ways to clear it out. Looking at the expectations, I'm expecting this to be the main team. Again, most of these other Pokemon are somewhat to worry about. Miltank is a bulky Pokemon that we'll have to plan around. Rotom can be there as well for extra pivoting purposes. And, of course, Trapinch and Dewpider have their own uses. However, these 6 Pokemon are what I'm expecting to see. With that being said, we have created our team to fit appropriately. So first up, we have our Torragus, our Aegislash, who is currently rocking up with a Ghost Gem, and that is because with the Ghost Gem and its stat line, it will actually be able to one-shot a Gengar with Shadow Sneak. And that's actually pretty helpful because Gengar does not really have access to priority. Or if it does, not very good priority. And given the fact that we're kind of expecting Gengar to be a Scarfed Pokemon, that means that the priority is going to be important. And if we can Shadow Sneak it out of existence early on, that's going to be a huge benefit to us. Then looking at the rest of the team, Roshi is here primarily to make use of Bullet Punch and Fake Out. Zen Headbutt is there also for a few strong hits, just in case we end up needing to go off into basic power. And then Drain Punch is here specifically to deal with Pokemon such as Miltank. Then we have Xeno the Zeraora, who is currently sitting here with a Focus Sash with Agility, Knockoff, Plasma Fist, and Close Combat. The goal is going to be to use agility, which with 160 speed EVs, that means that even on an adamant nature, it'll be able to outspeed anything that has a choice scarf. And on top of that, since it doesn't have a scarf itself, that means that we'll be able to switch our moves around as necessary. Knockoff can handle Gengar pretty well, Plasma Fist can do a lot of damage to Corviknight, Close Combat can handle Miltank, and quite a few other Pokemon in general. So, the only thing this Pokemon has problems with specifically is going to be priority of its own. So, if we're running up against a Zygarde 10%, chances are we're not going to be able to get a clean hit off after an agility thanks to extreme speed. That being said, however, we are going to at least be able to deal a lot of damage if that's our starting point anyway. And if worst comes to worst and he switches into Zygarde expecting a Plasma Fist, we could get an agility off, get a free turn at that point, and then we could deal some pretty good damage to him before he manages to hurt us. Next up, we have Ecclesia the Togekiss. She has come back with her typical weakness policy. With Air Slash, Flamethrower, Dazzling Gleam, and Roost, she is here basically to be a defensive Pokemon, but also make use of her stat line and abilities to deal as much damage around the board as possible. And she might end up very well being the big threat to deal with Mega Altaria. Then we have Truffles the Chinchino, who is back again with the Choice Scarf, rocking Triple Axle, U-Turn, Return, and Knockoff. Return is there mostly as a big panic button attack. Triple Axle should be able to handle Mega Altaria without too much trouble, as well as Zygarde 10%. U-Turn is there because it can help deal with Urshifu a little bit, and it can also get Truffles out of dodge. And of course, Knockoff is good not only against Gengar, but just to get rid of opposing items. And then finally, we have Gurky, our Amoonguss. Gurky is here, honestly, mostly as a safety net for a little bit. We have Spore, Toxic, Hex, and Sludge Bomb. Hex is there mostly to help deal with a sleeping Gengar if worst comes to worst. Sludge Bomb can help deal with Mega Altaria. And basically, this thing is here to tank hits and potentially get things poisoned. The only Pokemon that realistically doesn't give a damn is going to be Corviknight. And even then, if we Spore it, that'll at least help a little bit. At least I believe we can Spore it. I'll have to double check beforehand. But either way, Gurky is here basically to act as an annoyance more than anything else. And honestly, I think our team is pretty solid. Do I think we have a great chance of winning this battle? Not necessarily, but I feel like we have a good enough chance that these guys would be the best team I can come up with. So, with that being said, it's time to get into the battle, guys. We'll see you on the field. Alright, so here we are into the battle, and I have to say, I think I was pretty close to accurate. We see Urshifu, Gengar, Corviknight, Mew, Altaria, and Rotom Heat. I think the only one I wasn't expecting was the Rotom Heat. But you know what? That's okay. So let's think about this real quick. I think Truffles is probably my best bet, simply because of the fact that it's got the Scarf. So she can at least U-turn, and we can get a little bit of setup going. So yeah, that's what we're going to start with. And Rotom Heat, okay. So Rotom is probably going to Volt Switch, if I had to guess. And we're pretty sure this thing's going to be... We know this thing's slower. The question is, what exactly are we going to expect out of it? Let's take a quick look. Assuming it's the pivot, the standard pivot. Okay, nothing really does a whole lot to it here. Volt Switch does about... will do about 40%, so I think our safest play... is the U-turn. And he switched into Corviknight. Okay, good. That works very nicely for us. The question now becomes, what do we want to do exactly? Let's see. I'm trying to think what a good move would be. I don't think Ecclesia would be the best option here, to be honest. Zera Aura might actually not be a bad idea. It doesn't do enough to kill, but we could get a free agility off and do a lot here. Yeah, you know what? I think we're gonna do that. So Corviknight is either gonna U-turn, or it's just gonna go for an attack. So either way, we're gonna agility. It switches into Mew. Okay, that's even better. So Mew can deal a lot, but we have the speed and we have a free hit, so we're gonna knock off. Colbur Berry does very little, and there's the Will-O-Wisp. Okay, that's another problem. Fuck me running. How do I forget the goddamn Will-O-Wisp again? Okay. So Plasma Fist can do some damage, but not a lot. And I think, wow, this actually really hurts us here. Okay, so it's Will-O-Wisp. We know that much at least. And unfortunately, we don't have a good way of dealing with this, so this is actually a real problem. Okay, we're gonna switch into Gurki. I don't Wow, okay. I probably should have realized that was gonna happen. Oh boy. That's actually a real problem for us now, because Psychic's gonna kill us. And Psychic's gonna do a lot to anything. Ooh, and unfortunately, even our Torgus won't do much because Shadow Sneak's not gonna be enough to kill Mew. And then we're just gonna take a Will-O-Wisp. Boy, this is actually a really bad situation for us. That being said, I guess Gurki doesn't really do anything to help us out here. I guess we'll just go for a Toxic and let him expect a switch. Well, actually, yeah, because I feel like he might switch into something. Actually, no. We're going to Spore, because if he does... Okay, he's going to go for the kill. Okay. I was thinking, if he switches into Corviknight or Gengar, expecting a Toxic, then that can at least do something. So, okay, so we know Mew is slower. Is going to be slower than Truffles, and he's going to be slower than... I kind of want to... I think the best play is going to be to go into Roshi, because we can make it evolve, Fake Out, and then go from there. And then Roshi will be at full speed. Wow, that did nothing. Okay. Wow. Okay, so Mew is definitely max HP. That might be physically defensive. Which, if that's the case, then none of the moves are really going to do anything. Okay, so what that means is we probably need to switch. The question is, who do we switch into? Oh boy, this is gonna be rough. I guess Xeno doesn't really have much utility anymore. Like, without the agility, he's not gonna be able to outspeed Gengar anyway. And there's a roost. God damn it. Okay. Let's... Plasma Fist. That does nothing. Wow. I know we're burned, but god damn. And knockoff does nothing as well. Yeah, that's a problem. The only thing I could think of is maybe going into Aegislash. The Shadow Sneak only does about half, which is far from ideal. Yikes, okay, okay, we're gonna go into Truffles, and I think our best bet is just a U-turn. Alright, there's the Corviknight. Let's see. Okay, well, we have to go into Ecclesia. That's really our only option here. And we're going to hit the flamethrower button. And he predicts that flawlessly, of course. Okay, and that's actually a huge problem, because now he's just going to... Yikes. And we have nothing that really does any damage to this thing, either. Double yikes. Though we are slower. So... I kind of want to roost, actually. I'm expecting him to Volt Switch. Yeah, he's gonna Volt Switch, so we'll be able to heal up, and we're gonna be maxed out on attack and special attack, which actually helps a lot. And at full health, Ecclesia should, keyword should, be able to live any one hit. And let's double check this, but I'm pretty sure Ecclesia should be able to handle this. At +2 special attack, Dazzling Gleam absolutely kills. So we're gonna do that. Return does a little. Okay, you know what? We're not getting 6-0 sweeped. I'll take that. And there's the Gengar to basically finish us off, which is whatever. But... well, actually, does Ecclesia really do anything to help beyond now? Ecclesia can't really do anything to Rotom, I'm aware of that. But Corviknight can take some damage from Flamethrower. Urshifu doesn't really have a good way to deal with Ecclesia in general. I kind of want to switch. Okay, so basically I'm looking at it twofold. Either he can go for a Sludge Bomb to kill us off immediately, fearing that we're gonna we want to keep the stat boost, or he's gonna go for a Shadow Ball thinking we're gonna switch into Artorias. And I think he might want to try to take care of Ecclesia now. So if we switch into Artorias, the Sludge Bomb's not going to do anything, and then we can potentially get him back with the Shadow Sneak. Let's take that chance. And it worked. Sweet. Okay. Now, we hit Shadow Sneak and see what happens. Shit. Okay, that did not do as much as I thought it would. Unfortunately, I don't believe this will protect... I don't believe King Shield will protect against Will-O-Wisp. Which, if that's the case, then we're kind of in trouble. And unfortunately, Ecclesia is the only one that could really take the Will-O-Wisp potentially. But that's not really a good option because we need to survive long enough to actually... We need to not take the Will-O-Wisp because we need to roost. Okay, well, Roshi, I think, could potentially deal with Gengar still. I don't think Bullet Punch will be enough, but I think between Truffle... I think Truffles actually could deal with it potentially with a knockoff, so... Do we want a King Shield, or do we just want to... We're gonna King Shield. I don't think this works against Will-O-Wisp, but that's not too bad. Overheat. Oh, okay. That actually makes a difference. And we can actually close... Well, wait, do we want to close combat, is the question. He's probably going to switch. But if he switches into Gengar, we can at least nail him with Shadow Sneak and chip him down. And anything else is going to take decent damage too, so we'll close combat. Honestly, the fact that we managed to take one Mon off of Copy Ninja here is impressive, so I'm happy with that. The only question is, what are we going to do now? Because Zeraora was kind of a key figure for this, and we don't really have a whole lot of good ways to deal with Rotom, honestly. At least not in one shot. Question is, what are we gonna do now? Like, I feel like close combat's our best choice. Also, I'm curious as to what's taking Copy so long to pick a move. Oh. Okay, so we had a slight disconnection issue. But we're all good now. So, as I was saying, we're gonna close combat. We take a hit, that's okay. And I think close combat might be enough to kill? Okay, that was a crit. I actually don't know if that was enough to kill. Let's see. Assuming it was the pivot. Agislash. Close combat did 35 to 40, or 37 to 44. So, yeah, that crit probably mattered. And there's the Urshifu. Okay. I don't know what Urshifu exactly is going to do. But I kind of feel like King Shield is a smart play just as a safety. And if he... oh, it goes through Protect? What? Okay. you're... Okay, I did not know that's a thing. Okay, that's actually a big fucking problem for us now. Let's see what we have. I don't even know what Urshifu typically carries. Let's assume the choice band set. Togekiss. Okay, Togekiss can at least Dazzling Gleam it. And Flamethrower do a decent chunk too, so I guess we're gonna go with that? Or do I want, well, do I want to Roost is the question. I'm actually gonna opt to Roost. There's the Gengar. Okay. So I need to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do here. The fact that he switched out Urshifu implies that he either is choiced or he has no real way to deal with this thing. So that's a good note. Unfortunately, my problem is I don't have a way to deal with this thing specifically. Let's assume that Sludge Wave actually does not do enough to kill. Air Slash doesn't kill either, but it does at least a decent enough chunk that I think Roshi could probably knock it back. So we're gonna Air Slash. That's a lot. Okay. That's interesting. And it's Life Orb. That's also interesting and good to know. So I think the best play is just to Roost, let this go down. And I guess the real question is, do I want to go into Truffles or do I want to go into Roshi? Well, there's one way to find out. Bullet Punch does 42 to 49. That's enough. We don't really have a good way to deal with Corviknight, unfortunately, which is a problem. But that's really not anything I can worry about. So alright, let's go into that. And let's just click Bullet Punch. Make this easy, because Bullet Punch will do something to something. There's the Corviknight. And unfortunately, I think this is the part where it just walls us out to death. So let's see. Corviknight. The question is just a matter of which does more to it. Zen Headbutt or Drain Punch. Drain Punch, it looks like, does a bit more. So we'll go with that. Gengar. Okay. Why would you do that? Like, are you just expecting me to switch back and forth? Okay, we're gonna Zen Headbutt. Does not do a lot. And there's the Willow to finish us off. That sucks. And that's gonna be a pain in the ass as well. So we're just gonna... Basically, our only hope is the Zen Headbutt and pray that it flinches enough times to kill it. Or we could just straight up miss and it not matter in the friggin' slightest. That works too. Damn, 10% damage. Well, I mean, in fairness, if we can successfully keep flinching, we actually pace this. Oh, nope, and that's hopeless now. Well, this is an awkward situation. Drain Punch for the lulz, I guess. Hey, Faye, there's the roost. Okay. Drain Punch again, just because. And now comes our problem. We are down to a Choice Scarfer, and not a single one of these moves is enough to do all of this. In fact, because Gengar is still there, we can't even just spam return on everything. So let's just U-turn and... Wow, that does nothing. Okay, so... I mean, I can't complain. It's a 4-0. That's actually not that bad. This team was hella solid, and there just really wasn't a whole lot I can do about it in general. Oh, and that takes it down. Alright, that's disappointing, but shit, what can you do, right? So we'll get into discussion post-game very shortly. Well, that battle unfortunately did not go at all as I was expecting. So that kind of bites, but I mean, there's nothing really I can do about that. As soon as we saw his team being as physically defensive as it was, plus Will-O-Wisp on Mew, that pretty much was an indication that the battle was going to be lost from the get-go. Especially because we don't really have a good way to deal with Mew in the first place, so sucks, but there's nothing we can do about that. At least not now. So, for the MVP, normally I only assign the MVP to one poke, but this time around I feel like Ecclesia and Artorigas both deserve the honor, so we're going to give them both the MVP point, because effectively they both did the same thing. They both survived a big-ass hit that allowed them to get a KO in return. Artorigas managed to take a hit from Overheat with Rodon, and in doing so, managed to come back and nail it with a close combat to finish it off. And on top of that, yeah, admittedly, it was a bit of user error because I did not know about Wicked Blow, or Unseen Fist, rather, getting to ignore anything of protection. Personally, I think that's still kind of bullshit, but now I understand fully why people talk about Urshifu being broken. That being said, that was a mistake on my part. I can't really fault Artorigas on that. And as for Ecclesia, she not only managed to one-shot Mega Altaria before it became a threat at all, which is very good, but on top of that, she also managed to scare off Urshifu and tank a Sludge Wave from Gengar as well to get some damage off. Were we able to capitalize on that damage afterwards? No. But she actually managed to do pretty much what I thought she was going to be able to do in the first place. So, happy with that. As for next week, that's the finals week of the regular season, and I feel like we're going to have to win in order to have a chance at the playoffs. And we are facing off against Ladner and the St. Louis Sableyes. At the current moment, they have not gone through their battle for this week, so we do not know their current record. However, as of week 7, they are 4-3 with a +4 differential, and I believe they were currently ranked 5th in the division for this week. So, depending on how they fare, this battle may really make a difference for us. So, we're going to have to really hope for the best. But until then, guys, we will catch you guys next week, and hopefully we can finish off this season with a strong performance. Have a great night.